Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shauna Kay. As the season gets into the mold of things, you can find yourself with so many different various emotions, depending on your background, depending on your whatever you're going through in your life and your season that you're in. Life, of course, is full of a bunch of seasons, and it can vary. But I think the hardest thing for us as human beings is having the willpower to harness in our emotions and not let them control our now, our present. In today's society, we tend to lack resilience and willpower. We just don't practice it as much as we used to back centuries ago. Fight or flight, the constant survival mode, the constant, persevering and fighting through. That was just the way of life. So now it's like we are spoiled. We're not necessarily needing to be in that mindset, so we've kind of gotten lazy in a sense, and eventually your mind starts to just get used to it, and kind of create its own problems with the new environment it has to work with. That's just human nature. So even though life is so much more amazing these days than it ever was before, we as society start to create problems, making them huge, making them a big deal, when in fact life is so much better than it ever has been. And it's monumental to us in our conscience, stress and anxiety, and the emotional toil it's taking on us over things that are so minuscule compared to what our ancestors have had to endure and go through. It's almost embarrassing when I think about the things that will cripple us, trigger us in today's society compared to centuries ago, when people actually had things done to them which would cripple them mentally, physically. It's embarrassing. I'm not happy with the way society has become. If anything, I'm teaching my kids to appreciate what they have, to appreciate everything around them, but to honor their feelings, honor their emotions, and, not to be ashamed or feel bad or not allow themselves to have their moment of justifiable emotions. I'm not the type of parent that will say, you know what, back in my day, so you are not justified in your emotions because I had it worse. That's toxic. That is not at all what I am about. What I would take as a learning moment, as a teaching moment with my children, is to show them a better outlook. Grant them that moment of letting them feel what they're feeling, giving them that moment. This is what you're feeling. This is why you're feeling it. You have every right to feel it. But let's unpack what you're feeling. Let's think about this. Is it really as detrimental as our minds will try to paint the picture that it is? Our minds are not our best friends. Sometimes we will paint the worst scenario, and that will do more damage if we give that a platform. In today's society, we like to put our weaknesses and issues on a platform and let it guide us. Let it rule us. Let our issues be what we define ourselves as, instead of back in the day where it was just issues we needed to overcome. Sticks and stones. That's like an old philosophy. It's a dying mindset to think the way I think. I don't get it. And society is only going to continue to go down this weakened path of just this mentally weak society until they're so weak that one of the few strong, manipulative, narcissistic people will come in and take that weak-minded society and mold them to whatever they want, because they've put themselves in that position. They did it to themselves. And someone will come and they will control the masses. And no matter how much people like me try to get through to people to stop becoming so weak mentally and so sensitive, because the more you do this, the more society as a whole is becoming like sheep that will be guided by a very wrong figure, because that's just the way it is. The natural instinct of people is to feel guided by a force. Now, there are many who don't, but the majority and just the natural flow is that we do. And it's a leader, right? The leader of the pack. But when you keep weakening your mentality, eventually you're going to let a person who doesn't deserve a position have power over you. And that day is going to come. Call that prophetic, but you've heard it here. So bookmark my video. But I was sharing some memes about silence and how important it could be. If I've learned anything throughout the holidays as it approaches, and thinking about, you know, some of the pain that comes with the holidays and my own background. And my silence is actually a gift. Because I am never at a loss for words. I am never one who has nothing to say. I can always say something. Especially if it's towards someone who has done me wrong, someone who I need to talk to, that I should talk to, that I feel needs to be talked to. I am not one that hides from confrontation. I love it. I think it's needed, and that society continues to run from it as they continue to get weak. And it's going to create problems when you do that, because you know, I watch a lot of these people, and they would avoid these things, these triggers that they would notice, but they would just avoid the confrontation. They didn't want to talk about it because they were afraid. If they talked about it, what would happen? So, for example, someone thought, okay, it's interesting that my husband keeps, you know, going out with a certain person or traveling or blah, 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 but I'm just going to ignore it. It can't be true. It must be in my head. And it turns out they're, you're right, cheating, right? Then it blows up, and later down the line, she's like, that's my biggest regret, that I was too afraid of confrontation. I could have saved the marriage. I could have whatever. That is the problem of the majority of things that happen in our lives. It's because we're too afraid to open our mouths. I'm not that person. I am more than happy to open my mouth. In fact, it gets me in trouble quite a bit. I say what I want to say, and a lot of times people don't want to hear it, or they get offended, or it causes problems, causes arguments. Fill in the blank. I have learned throughout maturing and aging how to effectively communicate without looking like the fool, right? As a child, when we communicate like children. We communicate with immaturity, and I was no different. But as I've aged and gotten older, and I want to put my point across, I will do it more effectively. And I've gotten better, sharper. But now I'm at a point in my life where I've learned not to cast my pearls before swine. And silence is just better for all of us. And it's sad when it comes to that point. It's really sad. It's a sad day for all of us involved when silence is just better, because once communication stops, you know that you're going to have to fight hard. In a marriage, for example. Once things get silent, you've already let it go too far. Once things are angry and loud, that's your opportunity to make the biggest change. That's your opportunity because the passion's there. Angry, but it's passion nonetheless. The desire, the emotions are there. But once they're gone, you can't spark that up as easily. If you know what I mean. Once I'm at a point where I don't care to talk anymore, people who actually know me, those that have cared enough about me to know me, and know that once you put me into a spot where I don't want to talk, you've really pushed me too far. And at that point, a couple people have realized, and it's I could count pretty much one person who has put me in that position and actually stood up and knew that they had a task ahead of them to win me back, to get it back on track, because I was worth it, our relationship was worth it, whatever you want to call it. Because once the communication and the fire and the spark is gone, it's an uphill battle, and it takes a lot of humility. It takes a lot of work, sweat, and a lot of people don't like to humble themselves. Unfortunately, that's when a lot of people just have to part ways, which is perfectly fine. It happens, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you're losing sleep. It doesn't mean you hate each other. It just means that this road on life is just not going to involve the both of you. There's nothing wrong with that. I just broke down one day during a conversation with somebody. I woke up and I'm like, why can't people just treat me the way I treat them? Why is it so hard for people to just treat me the way I treat them? Is that, like, am I really that rare? Am I really that rare of a human being that I can't get the same reciprocated to me? I don't like to treat people mean. I don't like to be rude. If I'm hurting, if I'm in pain, I don't take it out on other people. But I guess that's rare. I guess that's not the norm. So many people, they don't know how to do unto others. They don't. That simple, ancient proverb of do unto others as you want to be treated. If you want people to treat you a certain way, you treat them a certain way. You treat them that way. If it's important to you that your days, that your children are valued, that you are feeling special, that you are pursued, you do all that to them. If you are quick to give advice to other people, to correct them, to be prophetic towards their life, to say this needs to change, you need to get this out of your home, you need to blah, 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 then accept the same correction. So as this beautiful, cozy, crispy Christmas season starts and begins, I want to encourage you guys to be silent if you feel like that's the best approach. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because oftentimes that is the most peaceful feeling and the best feeling, which equates to the best choice for you. Don't feel obligated to involve anybody or anything in your life this season. I've had so many people that I've done absolutely nothing to hurt me more than you could ever imagine. And they have yet to even comprehend the damage that it is continuing to, like, it's residual. Some things, it's not just, no one ever talks about that. When someone does something bad, it's not like you can just say sorry, move on, and it's forgotten. Some people actually live with what you did to them. And it's not because they want to, it's because of that action. It actually has residual effects that they actually have to suffer through. So it's not like they want to be reminded of what you did and they're holding a grudge. That's how bad of a person you are. What you did was pretty bad. I think back on who I am as a person, as a human being, and what I've done to other people. And the things I've had to just overlook, how I've been treated, talked down to, critiqued, verbally abused, insulted, corrected, reprimanded, ignored, just being mistreated by hypocrites, complete and total hypocritical people. And I have bit my tongue so much when I did not have to, when they would not have done that for me. And if I have accepted anything, it is that those days are over. And it's perfectly okay. It's okay. You don't always have to be the bigger person. You don't always have to be the nicer person. Silence is your way of getting your point across, but yet also having it be a peaceful one. They might not ever understand why, but it's enough. If you've ever been in a room full of silence, people don't like silence. They think they do. They think they want seclusion and silence, but once they have it, they don't realize what they wanted. They don't realize. It comes with its cons. Silence is uncomfortable because it makes you look inward. It makes you listen to the shadows. It makes you listen to your shadow self. It makes you hear things that you might not want to hear. So give the gift of silence this season. Some people need it. And if anything, that might strengthen society just a tad bit more. And then when the day comes where some narcissistic nutjob will come over to take over the masses of the sheeple, there still might be a good chunk of us that will form the resistance, thanks to my videos.